Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth. Over here is our resident architect, Mr. Édéspap.
Hi there.
Today we are going to talk about all the topics that are concerning tiling, tiling styles, tiling patterns. So there's a lot to cover. So let's take a look. As you might have seen in other everything about webinars, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to certain feature sets. So we have to narrow it down to certain aspects. So Iles, can you tell us in a few words what we are going to discuss today?
Well, first we will talk about the kind of anatomy of the tiling and how that works, what sort of areas it is built upon from, and how to use those areas and tiling, and what the connection between the two. And then we will go a little bit deeper and try to customize these things. We will even talk about what makes a good pattern and why you should not choose certain patterns, and what to look at when you look for textures actually. And then we will also talk about these kind of complex patterns, we call them, which are not just like regular, these are the kind of rectangular shapes, but there are other types that you can combine together. We will also even create mosaic tiles. And at the end, we will see how we can extract data out of the tiling. Of course, we will see them in the 3D, but we will also see the amount of tiles that we are creating actually when we design the tiling on the surfaces.
Right. Should you have any questions during the show, you can ask it on the right hand side. If you don't see it on the surface where you are watching the show, you have to go onto the YouTube surface and watch it there. So let's look at the model that we have at hand. So this is the kitchen I understand in which we are going to work today. And what are we going to do first?
Well, the first thing we will decorate is the wall. And then we will go deeper and figure out what else we can cover with these surface decorations. And I wanted to start with a very simple example. Many times in the kitchen we have kind of a backsplash surface, which is sometimes made of steel plate or even glass. But now we would like to focus on when we have something tiled or painted, how that goes. So if we have something like that, let me just swap the screens and see the 2D layout, because I would like to make most of my work in the 2D layout for the first. And then I will go to the interior and find the tiling tools. Now, we will cover most of these today, but now I would like to start with the tiling in 2D command. That actually collects two main groups which you can actually tile: the walls and the slabs. Now, those are the most important vertical and horizontal surfaces in the 3D environment, even if you are inside or when you are outside of the building. So this is what the software offers first. Now, there is the first thing about the wall. It starts with two different commands when we talk about the wall surface or the wall side. One is the tiling on wall side, and one is the tiling on wall part only. Now, for our case, both is good, but I would like to show you what is the difference between the two. So let's start with this tiling on wall side first. And I click here. This is actually the same surface here. So I click here.
What do we do?
And then I place the layout. This is what we would see when we look from the left-hand side and we see those surfaces. If I click here, see that is this tiny part and this other one is the other one. And there is the connection of the wall. So those are the two surfaces. So this means when I use this tool, I can place the whole wall layout, even if it's intersected with different smaller walls or something like that, in one go, and I can work on the full surface at a time. Now, once you place this layout, right after that, you will see those commands appearing at the top of the screen. Those are the tiling commands. The first thing first, you will see the first 5 or 6 commands here. Those are color-coded in blue. That means those belong to the background area. Background area is an important thing for the tiling. We will talk about that soon. And there's the other one, which is for the tiling, for the tiles themselves, how to distribute them, how to change them. This is also what we will cover. But now, before I go on, I would like to show you that there is actually 2 ways to close the layout, to stop working and later perhaps jump back in. And one is the close and remove layout. And there will be the other one which keeps the layout there, and this is what I will do later. So now again, I go to tiling, use the tiling in 2D, and then instead of this one, now I will use the tiling on wall part only to show you what that does. And when I click here, and I use finish, simply not closing and removing the layout, then I keep the layout. So this is what you can do. And at any time you can erase, simply just select it and remove the layout from the 2D. It won't remove whatever you have in the 3D surface. This is an automatically generated dynamic drawing, like when you have some sort of section or elevation view or something like that. When you close the elevation view, the building does not disappear. So this is the same behavior here. So
what do we do on the layout? Why do we use it exactly?
So let's go with the first one, the tiling on wall side. I just place it here, and I will use this for designing. And one of the reason is that sometimes when I close this layout is that I would like to make some edit here. But let's go simple and easy first. What if I would like to recolor this whole surface, not the full wall, but only this surface? In that case, I go with the background area and I add a new background area. Now I can freely draw any sort of shape, but I will go again easy, and I just use the close loop and recognize this shape and select, for example, dark gray. And see what happens when I click OK. See, this surface is dark gray. Let's just close this. We will come back here and then just move the camera around. See, now only this part of the wall is colored. The other part is not. And there's an interesting story here, yeah?
That is to say, if you want to make a color pattern like what you see right behind us.
Yes, that's right.
Part is green, part is this creamy color, then that's how you can do it.
Yes, that's right. And also, it's an important thing that this way I did not change the color property, the material property of the wall. If I click here on this wall and I choose edit and I go to the properties, I can see this wall has a white paint as a finished face, interior and exterior on both sides, and I can see that there. So when you use a tiling background area, or we can say a painted surface, you actually overpaint on the original material. So that's why even if I would change the white material here, it would change only here, not on this surface, because whatever I have behind this area, this will still be overpainted on that area. So, but what happens when I do not want to cover the whole area? In that case, I just undo this last step. So I have only the original layout, and then I would like to create something here which I can use as a partial area. So this is what I do. And now that I have this layout here, I have another advantage that I can just click here and use the context menu and use continue tiling. So I can quick jump back in to editing and use again add new, but in this case I will just create that little stripe over there.
And how we are going to do that?
So for that, well, there are several options that I could go with, but I think now I'll go with the general rectangle. That's an easy thing. And because I know that this will be 0.9 meters from the bottom line from here, I will just add a new reference point. I just add it here. I move my mouse up and I just type 0.9. I'm working in meters, so that's why I do like that. And then I go horizontally, I select this one, and I go upwards and I just type 0.5. That will be the kind of width of this stripe, and I hit enter. And I again just keep it simple, use dark gray and okay. So now I have this gray stripe over there.
How could we make the gray stripe to line up with the cabinetry that you have? Because there's some excess part over there. I want to trim it back. How do I do that?
Yes, so again, if I know what was the distance, I could use that value when I type the distance. I could originally design it, but many cases, just as you described, I would like to align it with something that I already have. First things first, we will go back to here soon, but in this specific case, sometimes it's simply easier to go with the local menu of this, for example, edit background area, and just simply click here, offset, and align it with that. But what if I don't like that, or I can't do that? In that case, I can do obviously that in the 2D layout. So in that case, I just go very, very classic. I just go to dimension, measure the distance that I need. I need this distance from here to here, which is 1.9.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Make
nice.
a note of that, yes.
So we have a distance from this point 1.9. So I will use a drafting tool. So we go very, very classic. I just use the 2D tools, and from that I go to the right 1.9, enter. So I drafted actually what I would like to follow, and in that case I just click here, use the context menu and continue tiling, and I still have the same here. I have the edit layout option, the edit background area option. Yes. So I just see when I move this little here, it's like a spider web. It's filling up this area. So when I click there, it recognizes the shape, so I can do the same thing. I can reach the contour, add new breakpoints, or just move an offset and enter, and then I see that result appearing.
Now, what if you want to add some tiling onto it? Or first you want to do it in a full circle, so you want to continue with the...
First, let me show you how you can follow this along here, because this is something that why the 2D layout is good for. Once I have this 2D layout here, I can actually place down the other layouts, align them together, and use the other one as a reference for the following one.
So let me show you. Unwrap the whole room.
Yes,
and then
kind
of.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what I do. I just go to tiling again, tiling into the and tiling on wall side. That's fine. And I use this wall surface, and then see now I could align this with, but I'm at the wrong reference point. So I just use the F5 key to jump to the following one, and then now I can align them together. That's nice. That's fine. And then now I know what the distance from here is. So again, I just click on finish. I know that the depth of this unit here is 55 centimeters, 550 millimeters. So what I do again, I just go to drafting and I use offset. And once again, to speed up your workflow, at any time when you use something that is often for your workflow, it's necessary, it's needed, then you just right click here and you can use the add to quick access toolbar. You can snap it here, and then you just don't have to always jump back there. So I just use 0.55. Yep, that's nice. And I don't need to draw anything else because I will use this as a reference. So I just click here, context menu, continue tiling, add the new background area. Again, using the rectangle simple, start from here, align horizontally, and then I just snap it over here, and I use the same dark gray area, and then now it's all painted over there.
Now let's add some tiles onto them.
Yes.
Question here first. Would you add a tile texture onto this surface, or would you use actual tiles? What's the advantage for either?
Well, as a background area, I could have used a texture which represents one single tile, and it will be tiled on the surface. But that is kind of like you have a printed poster of a series of tiles. It's not really coming out in 3D, and that's the least of the problem. Actually, the software will not really literally generate 3D tiles, which is necessary when you would like to calculate the amount of tiles. So that's also why the tile tool set here is an interesting thing here, because when you add literal tiles, the software really distributes those tiles, and then it will be able to tell you the amount of those. So let's just go with the first one. The first one is adding tiles. It's actually similar to add new in the background area, add tiles to a background area. So in that case, you can actually add tile to anywhere else, but now I will add onto this gray stripe. And then I go to the settings, and instead of bright white, I will just simply go with something. I think I will use the blanche material, which we used in this project previously.
Yes.
I will also show you how to bring in new materials. So I will just try to find the one. Yeah, sorry. There's quite a lot of
quite a lot of music over here. So
so the blanche, this one. So I will go with this one. But instead of its original size, I can always overwrite whatever I have here. So I will just go with 25 by 25 because I have...
you have half a meter, so you want to fill that up with...
And let's imagine we have a real tile in the real world, which we can purchase in this size. So I just use this specific texture material with this specific size. And here's the thing. You can actually set up the thickness, the grout depth for this thing. I will use a grout depth, not that deep, maybe only 2 millimeters, and I will use the tile grout, the gap between the tiles, as 2 millimeters here, but you can actually change it to anything that you like. And the rest we will talk about how to unevenly distribute it and how to make a row shift. But you can see a little example here, and when you hit OK, then you are able to distribute it somewhere on the drawing. So the first thing is to find the origin. This will be the origin because I would like to start with a whole piece. So yes. I click here, and then I rotate it to match the layout, and then hit, and then I have this nice layout. And there is a cut piece at the end, but I don't mind about that.
Yes.
So okay, that's what I have here. And so now if I would like to go on and add tile here, I could go with this one, add tile, but I can't select that area. See,
why is that?
And the reason is because I'm in this layout. I can see all the layouts, but I started editing that layout on the left hand side, so I can edit only that layout. So to be able to edit the other one, first I need to hit escape to get rid of this editor
selection
for this layout, and then I need to go to the other layout, select it, and use again perhaps continue tiling, and I will use the same thing. I will add tiles here, and I will just click here, and let's say, okay, let's use the same thing, all with the same grout depths or with the same tile grout, and also starting the distribution from here, and then snap it with, align it with the original line. But in this case, I will have a cut tile at the end, and perhaps in this situation, this is not what I want. I want to start with a whole piece from here and have a cut over there. So how to realign something that I already distributed?
Yes.
In this case, again, when I edit the tiling, I use, again, continue tiling. Instead of adding tiles, I don't want to continuously adding new and new tile distributions and overlap them. I would like to edit an existing tiling, so that's what I go with. And I select the tiling that I'm about to edit. And then, again, I could change for example, the grout thickness and so on, but I don't want to change the distribution rules themselves. I just would like to change the distribution origin, so I just hit OK. And then instead of the previous point, I click here and I align it to the other way around, and then I will have the same thing just from another origin distributed.
How would you use the basic area, the underlay, to color one piece of a wall?
One piece of a wall.
You showed us before, but if you look at the right hand side, there's actually, it's not visible right now, but there's a part of the wall that should be of another color.
Yes.
So how can we make like a mixtured covering for a wall?
Okay, let's just find another location for this camera. Let's just place it over here so we can see nearly the whole thing. So what I would like to do, I will create something like 150, which will stay as white because there will be something appearing over there, and the rest I will just use as a wallpaper or something like that. Okay, so to be able to do that, I use the same layout. And once again, just as a reminder, if you accidentally or anyhow erase this, don't worry, it's still there. You can at any time go and use the interior tiling and tiling in 2D. Use the same command, tiling on wall side. Click on the wall side and just place it somewhere on your drawing, and voila, it will reappear again. So it's from that point on, it's part of your wall. So to be able to do that, I will use the add new rectangle, and I will just quickly start, covering this area. And now, because I know that from that point I would like to have a 1.5 meter wide part, I will just add the new reference point, click here, move it to the right 1.5, enter, and then just finish this whole thing. And now I will go with, well, I could go with the color, but now I would like to show you something like a stone pattern. So I have something like stone wall, if I recall. Yeah, that one. I think with this beige one is a bit better than the rest. So it appears over there. And always on the 2D layout, you will see a simplified representation. Just as in case of the elevations, elevation views of the building, you will see a hatch pattern appearing, which is actually defined by the material properties. We covered that part when we discussed about the materials.
Just to recap, what is the difference between the white part and the beige part? What I mean is that are these materials or are these coverings, or what are the differences?
Well, these are all materials everywhere. The difference is how they behave. Now, the material on this wall surface, when I go to the properties and I see that it is actually having a finish face inside and outside as a white wall paint. Now, this is a material property of the wall, but it can be overpainted or over-tiled with either a background area in the right-hand side or a background area plus the tiling. Now, in case I use the tiling on top of a background area, there is one interesting thing which we did not discuss, is that what I see here, do you remember there was a kind of a dark gray area that I used here? In that case, this is what I will see in between the tiles.
As grout?
So that will be the grout color from that point on. But if you just simply use it for coloring or wallpaper or something like that, I mean adding literal textures, then it will be the feature that you want. This is the same thing that we will apply soon. We will talk about that when we talk about carpet flooring, when we talk about pocket flooring, and so on. The thing that we need to decide when we are about to cover a surface, whether we would like to calculate the amount of tiles, in that case we will go with the tiling, or we are only curious about the look and the area that is covered, in that case we will go with the background area. So just to have a recap, if I just go here and try to change the material again from white paint to something else, and I say okay and okay, see everything here changes, but the rest is overpainted or over wallpapered by another texture.
What happens if you want to do tiling on a flat area? Let's say I want to cover up the floor.
The floor, okay. So in that case, you have several options. You have options in the 3D and you have options in the 2D. So because we started in the 2D, let's just continue in the 2D. So I just realign the layout so we can see what we do. And then I just go back and work on this 2D layout. So in case of the 2D layout, again, I use the tiling in 2D, and tiling on floor. In case of the slab, you can color the top of the slab, that's the floor, the bottom of the slab, which is considered to be a ceiling, and the side of the slab, which is again for decorational purposes, is a good thing to do. So now I will just go with the floor, and then I select the contour of the slab. And as a fact, I know it runs along everywhere, so I just click here. And then I can place it as a separate drawing, just as in case of the walls. But in this case, it's much better to realign it with itself, because then I see the room contour and everything else that I would like to use. So again, what to start with? I will start with the new background area, because I would like to have that same flexibility with the background area. So I just click on add new. And then I could recognize this shape, but I think it's easier now to simply draw a rectangle. Yes. So I will go with the general rectangle, and I click here, and then over there, and over here. And then again, I will just use this dark gray first things first, and then I will just change it to something else if I don't. Yeah, it's a typo. So let's go with dark. I'm very bad at typing and talking at the same time. So I will just go with this one. Yes. And okay, so it's colored just as we expected. But
so now you are going to put tiles on this.
Yes, but before I do, I would like to highlight the fact that I actually put this background area under the walls, which will be bad when I have the tiling on them. But let's imagine I did not recognize this issue yet. I will only recognize it once I already tiled the surface. So I just go there and add tiles, and I just select this whole area and use the same one. But I believe now I would go with something like a 50 or something like that, just like something like this
with
as a size. Yeah, and yes, again, I can actually just rotate this tiling. What's the original layout? How it originally aligns, and then this is an interesting thing. You can set up a row shift. Now the row shift will be, in my case, it can be anything in between these values to have a nice layout. So let's just type first 0.1 to see what that makes. See, in that case, this is what happens. And actually, I do not want to shift this value. I would like to shift the other one around. So I will just use the other value. So I just change this back to 0 and use this as 0.25, which is half the tile size. In that case, I have a nice half row shift. And then, yeah, I'm fine with this. So I just use and click OK, and then I distribute it somewhere. Let's just start from here and align it with the other part of the wall. And then now the whole area is distributed and tiled. But now comes the problem, which is a human nature. I forgot to exclude something that I already had there, or the other way around. Sometimes the design changes and you need to adapt the layout to the new changes. So let's imagine this is what happened. We realized that we need 2 new walls, so I need to change the existing layout. In that case, I will edit the background area. There's the edit background area option here. So I just click here. And see, now there is this option to be able to, click insert a node, click insert a node. And it's similar to what you can do. And I will show you another even faster method later with another topic to kind of add, pinpoints and then change the layout in a
Offset
way.
the contour, so that way these tiles would be what, cut out, or
Then they will be cut out if I just hit enter. And now those are removed because the tiles, when you cover the background area, the tiles exist on top of the background area. So when you change the background area's size, it will be automatically aligned. I mean, the tiles will be automatically aligned with the new shape of the background area.
Perfect. Should we talk about materials now? So how we can create them, what kind of materials we can bring into ARCHLine, and what we should pay attention to. Because you showed us briefly is that all the tiles that you created were either based on some colors or materials. But how do you get this content into ARCHLine, and what you should pay attention to?
Okay, so what we did is we made several Google search online. Let me just bring in a browser. I will just do that on this screen. Let me just bring it back here. So let's just try to find something. If you would like to find, let's look for geometric patterns. Geometric wall texture. So see, you will have findings, or even if you go to a stock page, you will do similar. You will try to find geometric wall texture or wallpaper or brick pattern or something like that. So the thing is that you just use those search terms that you are about to use later on the surface. Now,
which one is good from these?
The thing here is that sometimes it's really hard to determine whether these are okay or not. There are 3 or 4 things that you need to consider before downloading something and use it as a material. One is the size. Whenever you hover your mouse over any of those images, or you go online to a stock page and you purchase these things, the layout, the size, which I can see here, should not be very, very small and should not be very, very large. Now, let's see, for example, this one. This actually is kind of a small one. We cannot see that here, but it will be pixelated. It will be blurry on the wall surface. If you have too much information, but too few pixels, then you will have a blurry result. I will show you because I already downloaded something like that. Also, it should not be, it should be tiled. I mean, it should be seamless. In that case, it's even better if you just use that keyword here, like brick seamless pattern or brick seamless texture. So likely in that case, the software or the engine that you actually use will find patterns that are better fit for that result. For example, this would be good, but this is not good because it's actually lit on this area and dark here. So just imagine that this pattern repeats. I will show you. In that case, it will be a very bad result. And sometimes you have an angled shot, which is again not good. And sometimes there are parts like white areas around the picture or something like that, which you need to somehow chop off using an image editor or something like that. So see what I have found and how we can use that. So I just go to the design center, and here in the materials, in my material library, I actually created a wall pattern library, and I have downloaded these items that you can see here. I just used a simple Google search, and I found several good ones and several bad ones. So what to do with this here? So to change this, I will just use this same area here. Let's just make it even larger, so we will see it much better how cool or wrong it is. So let's just start with something that looks cool, but unfortunately is not prepared yet for this use. I will just click and drag, and I will just change this area because I already have something. I will just change this area and I replace this material with another one. And then I click here. See, the issue is that it is not seamless. We can clearly see how it is styled, and it's not good. The coloring is also not good because the top is kind of yellowish, the bottom is kind of grayish, and we cannot see that on the little thumbnail. But once you place it on the surface, it reveals the issue. So
what
this
other
is
issues
not good.
Can be?
The other issue can be that this looks good, but when I place it here, this is not seamless, and this is also lit. See?
Oh yes. So
it's kind of a gradient effect which it has, so I cannot use it without editing in an image editor. Okay, let's just undo that as well and go and try to use this. This looks okay, and then let's just place it over here, and then this is also a typical thing. It's not seamless, but it's not necessarily because of the pattern is not seamless. It's because the image itself contains white space, white areas, which is part of the image. You cannot just hide it here, because this is what the software will repeat. So again, you need to cut off those parts of the image. So let's just find a few good ones. When you place an image, I mean, these are materials. When you place them on the surface and you see that those are nice and fluid, seamless, then it's okay. Let's just see the other one, and
Yes,
let's just go with something like this.
Should this be of high resolution?
And the resolution is important. Once you make the renders, issues with the resolution will be obvious. Now this is a good resolution, because when I have a close shot like this, let's just imagine I place the camera here. There's something interesting. It's not blurry, not pixelated. Then it's cool. If you go a little bit close to the surface and it gets pixelated, even worse, it's noisy, then you should not use it. Those are the things that you need to worry about when you try to use a pattern. If the pattern is not ready to use, you still have an option to edit it with an image manipulator if you have the knowledge to do that. But if not, then just leave it alone and try to find another one, because it simply won't work on the surface.
Great. Now let's look back at the floor and talk more about coverings and tiling. And what I want to know more about is the floor transition. Let's say you have two different covering types. How do you merge them?
Yeah, it's quite typical when you have a large space and you would like to visually distinguish the two rooms. In this case, for example, the living room, where we are now, and there's the kitchen. And in the kitchen, we would like to use the classic tile pattern, and here something warmer, like wooden flooring or something like that. So how to do that? First things first. Again, it's connected to the areas and how those areas are covered or not. So what I will do, I will click here, use the context menu, and there is this option to continue the tiling, and then I would like to change how it looks like. I would like to make kind of a zigzag shape to match the pattern that I have edited on the wall, and then the rest will be covered in a wooden pattern. So what I need to do, I need to edit the background area. I click here. See, now the whole surface is recognized, and instead of trying to manually add little tiny points, I would like to actually follow these contours here. So that would be very kind of tedious to do so with the previously mentioned solution. But there is actually one which is very, very good for this, which is the add polyline. So I would just go with this one, and I start from here. Let's just go here.
You just track the...
And then I just track the tiling that I already have. Try to kind of take care. Well, I think it will be a little bit smaller than what I wanted, but anyway, let's just go around here and finish it over here. Cover the whole. This is what I will actually chop off. So I'm making a contour of the things that I would like to get removed.
So is that the default? So if you make a contour, that's going to be
So this is what I do now. I just highlighted this area, this whole area. So when I finish here, I actually now hit enter. Then the software recognizes it. It asks me to add new contours. I don't want to, so I hit enter again. And then when I close this whole editing command, it removes the background area, and with the background area, all the tiling. So now I have the option to add another background area here and to cover it with another tiling, or just use that background area as the surface feature itself, like a floor carpet or...
what if you want to have parquet, or if you want to have any kind of hardwood surface? We don't want to have tiles now. We want to have the meeting of tiles and hardwood.
Yeah. Okay. So let's add hardwood. That's actually a background area. So instead of trying to follow the contour, I will like to again use a closed loop. So I just would like to recognize this shape, which is okay. But see, as this is also a 2D symbol, ARCHLine recognize that contour. I will fix that later. So now I will go and find something. I think we have one in the Pocket library in the strips, and it was a Pocket Wood 2 which we tested before, and it looks cool with this pattern which we already have. So we use the Pocket Wood 02, and and then now it appears over there. But obviously I have this issue here because the software recognized this contour. So I just go and again edit the background area and just simply make this straight and get this removed. like this.
So that's how you can amend that. Obviously, it takes some after work, but this way you can.
But it's still faster than just manually track this whole thing. And then I just hit enter, and I just finish the decoration.
Right. And I understand you could do this also with textile surfaces. If, for instance, if you have a carpet, wall-to-wall carpet, then that would be the solution for that.
So this is what we have now.
That's how this could be done. Let's look at what happens if you want to do something similar but vertically. If you want to have several rows of different tiles exchanging each other. How would you do that?
Yeah, so for that we will actually go and switch to another project, which is a bathroom. And in that bathroom, we will have now only plain white surfaces. So we will partially recover what we already discussed and then go deeper into the other settings. So let's just go and find this bathroom with no tiling on its surfaces.
Yes, we are going to show quite a few things in here.
Yes.
Some things that we couldn't show in the kitchen because that would make no sense whatsoever. So first, let's talk about how we create multiple rows of different tiles. Obviously, you could do it on the layout as you did before, but I understand there's a very effective way to do that.
Yeah, just as I discussed, when we have a 3D surface in front of us, we can actually just directly cover that surface. So let's just find something. For a fact, I know that in this project we have materials with a letter code ZBD, and those are actually selected patterns in this.
Let me just pull out the visual aid because we do have one.
Yeah.
So that way. Yeah.
We will use specific values that we designed before, so you don't have to wait for us to figure out something pretty. So what I do here, I just go to the material libraries and I just search for the ZBD materials that I already have here. And then I will just use any of those on these surfaces. And I just click and drag here and find that I would like to use it as a tiling instead of a painting. So I just use a tiling and I click on the surface, so the software distributes it. And if I like it, I can keep it. If I don't, then I can still go to the 2D and further edit it. So that's how it goes. The other thing is for the walls. In case of the walls, I have an extra option. When I click on the wall and I use the
context
menu, then I go to the tiling submenu, and there is this select and place tiling style. This is what we will discuss soon. And I can also add tiling on all the wall sides, not only on this wall, but or everywhere in this room on all the walls. So this is what I do, which is a great time saver. So what I do, let's just go and use kind of large tiles, like, I don't know, 25 by 25.
That would work, yes.
Yeah, something like this. I don't need the row shift, so I just use regular distribution. And then I click OK. And then now the software goes around and it is trying to find all the wall surfaces and covering them full, which is good when you would like to fully cover all the surfaces all around. This is how it looks like. Now this is in this situation kind of plain and boring, so we will add some new design into. But this is a good thing when you would like to decorate large surfaces in one single go. But actually, you can do the same thing using wall decoration style, wall tiling style. So let's just undo this one and see how that goes. First things first, you can set up those tiling styles in the interior properties tiling. So what can we see here? First things first, these are styles that are stored in the software that you can actually create for yourself. You can save them for yourself. But before we dig into that, let's just see how it builds up. First things first, you have one or several other rows that you design for yourself. The first row, what we have here, has a specific pattern. Then we have another one. We actually will have 5 different rows with different type of patterns matching each other, but yet giving us a nice texture, and we will not cover the full wall surface. So the first one is 0.75 centimeters. Yeah, 0. That's just too large.
Yes.
0.75. And it's not black. It's actually having this material what we have, which is I believe in the model, and it's called ZBD, right?
Yes.
It's ZBD something. It's from a dedicated maker.
Yes.
So I will go with this one, right?
That's the one, yes.
So I will just start with this tone which matches the floor. Okay. And I would like to change its orientation, rotate it to the left, And then I have the same size, everything is fine. Tile route I don't change, so everything is okay. I just go okay. So I have that first one. Then I add the new row, and this new row will have a different height.
0.25.
So it's actually one tile height. And the tile itself is different. In this case, the tile is the one
ZBD family again, but it's 42009.
009. So this is the one which is having itself a nice pattern inside the texture. So I go with okay. If I zoom in, I can see that there's the trick. This is how it will go. Let's just add the new one.
That's going to be again 0.75.
Again 75.
And
perhaps with the same one or different one?
No, it's a different one. It's the it's 42008 from the ZBD family.
That's the bright one. This one.
That's the one.
So So now we have this one, and then on the top we should have a deco line or something like that.
That is 6 centimeters.
Okay, and I actually add the new one because again I know that I will use this one again. So
line number 4 is going to be 0.06. That's right.
6, yeah.
And the material should be the Albus one.
Albus. Okay, so let's just try to find that Albus. Yeah, let's just go with this one. Let's just go with this one. Yeah, that's nice.
Nice.
And okay, yeah. So I have the nice deco line over there, and I believe the last one is the same as this one, right?
Yes, it's 0.5.
This makes a nice pattern, and at the top now what we see is the wall uncovered. So whatever the wall surface is, it will appear over there. So should it be gray, it will be gray. Should it be, I don't know, anything else, it will be like that. But if you like to make sure that this pattern actually goes together with white paint on top of that, you can insert a new row here and set up a very tall height. So you can make sure that it will be 100% covered, whatever the height of this wall is. So I just change it to 2 meters. And instead of tiling it with anything, I just disable the tiling. So in that case, now I have the tiling here, but when I click here, it disables the tiling. And it will use this pattern, this background area, which is instead of a cream material, I would like to add something white wall paint or something, or bright white perhaps. And I go with that one and see now when I click redraw, it recolors. So whatever I have as the original painting, this is how it will look like.
Should we? Yes, that's.
And the top, just as you highlighted, it should be a little bit smaller, but just before we finish. So this is how the final layout looks like.
One tremendous advantage here is that you only have to put this together once, right?
Yes. So when I did this, just as I highlighted at the beginning, when you click here, you have the style list for these tiling styles actually. So when you set up something like that, you can click on New and save it. Let's just name it webinar wall tiling style or something like that. And I don't create subfolder or anything else, and I would like to make it visible for all my projects. So when I go on and use another one, I will be able to use that. So I just make sure that this option is enabled. So when I hit OK, I will have this webinar wall tiling style. Let's see whatever else we have here, because we actually have this is where we started off. We just played around with the settings, and we have this one. We actually created as an interesting thing. You can actually use this for carpet, like a decoration line, a plinth. It's just a very simple. You just find this area, set up the area, whatever the tile is. It's not important for us because now we use the tile grout itself, that's the background area, as a carpet pattern. If I zoom in, we can see clearly that it's kind of a grayish carpet pattern which we have here.
Can you use this for external plinths as well?
External prints and also for living rooms as well. When you have this tile covering, sometimes you still have the tile plinth around, and this is what I have created here. This is the same thing. So, and before we go on, let's just create another one based on this one. So we will use it in the external. Let's just change it to something like, this will be something like gray. And
are we going to use this external?
No, sorry. I will just use it as a painting. So I will actually disable this wall tile, and instead of the tile grout, I will use one of the gray patterns that I have here. And I will use this as a painting on the wall surface. So this is what I will do. Let's just go with I think dark gray. Perhaps that's the best that I can go with now. Yeah, let's just try to find it. Dark gray. Yeah, perhaps it's not here. But
yeah, because you were in model, so
yeah. Okay, so let's just go with dark gray, and it's here. Yeah. So let's just go with this one. This is what I will use, and I just add it as a new, and let's just say dark gray plinth or something like that, and this is what I will save. And I make it available for all my projects.
Now let's just place the wall style that we did before
Yep.
onto the walls.
I just activate that, and before I start the command, I made sure that I activated the correct style, and then when I go to tiling, placing tiling style, then I actually use that. Still, if I would like to switch to another one, I can do, because those appear at the left-hand side. But when I click here, I can just use that all around and click on the surfaces. But this is not what I want.
How can you do it at once?
I just want to do it in one single go. So I just click here, use the context menu tiling, and on all the walls I would like to select and place the tiling style. So this is what I do. I just select the tiling style. When I hit OK, the software goes around and it tries to find all the wall surfaces and again try to cover all of them.
Perfect. Now let's talk about a bit more complex, the tiling styles. And start the discussion by showing how you could change individual tiles in this. So because we created the style, but we want to change individual tiles one by one.
Yeah, it's very likely that sometimes you just would like to, make fun and change the layout a little bit. Not that, so it's not that much simple.
Yes.
So what I will do, I will just change the tile color here. I don't want to remove the tiles. I just would like to change their color to something else. So what I can do that in that case, I just right click here, use the context menu for the tiling, and there are the options that you can do with the tiling in this 3D surface. And there is the one which is for the change the selected tile. So what I do then, I just click on the tiles that I would like to recolor or repaint. And then when I hit enter, then the software allows me to tell what will happen with this tile. And here the tile material, instead of its original, it should be something else. So let's just go with the darker tone or something like that. Let's just hit OK. And when I hit OK, then the software will change the selected tile. So this is how you can actually kind of add a zigzag pattern or something like that. This is what you should do when you have a very simple change, not that many tiles are changed. And this is actually the same thing that you can find here. You can delete the tiling if you don't like. You can erase all the tiling all around everywhere, and you can add 1 or 2 tiles if you need only those.
What about random distribution? I'm thinking about mosaic tiling. How would you do that?
Well, in that case, it's not like this. And even in that case, the tiles are very, very small. So I just finish this editing and I go here. And let's just add mosaic tiling here. So
First,
I just again
you need to delete that.
Yes. So what I do, I just go here and say I would like to delete all tiling here on this surface. However, how much tiling I had here, it's not important. Now I erased everything. So I have a clean white wall here, and then I just right click here and I find the tiling and tiling on wall side and on this wall only. And then now instead of the simple pure rectangular shape, which is using always the same color, it has no random effect, I will go and use the mosaic tiling. And the mosaic tiling is an interesting tool. It actually has a maximum 4 different tile patterns that it can randomize. And then you can actually set up the fill rate, what the way of these tile patterns are, the distribution way. And you can say that, okay, you would like to use, for example, coffee cream. You would like to use, instead of brick, I just would like to use something else. Let's see what else I have here. Let's just go and find something in the stone pattern, perhaps in marble. And well, I just go with something darker, something very, very dark. So we will easily see that. Okay, let's just go okay. And then let's say this is what I want. But instead of this one, I will select a bluish stone. And this will be in marble, and I like.
What about that at the top?
The top.
Yeah,
this one. No,
yeah,
perhaps
I
this
think
one.
that
It's actually similar, and so I think it will work. So this is what you do. You can actually refresh the preview. In this case, it's not making any sense, but if you draw your attention here, the dimensions can be different. So so when you do not want to create this regular mosaic tiling, but something like a rectangular combined with square styles, you change the size of that specific one. Now in this case, the coffee cream, and when you click refresh, this is how the new distribution distribution will look like. So you can play around with this with different way, and so if you increase that, actually the software will make them dominant towards the other ones. You can change it equal ratio and go back to the same size. So this is how you can play around with the settings. So when you hit OK, the software will actually distribute this whole surface with the tiling, and again it works the same way as any other tiling. You don't have to decorate all the surface. You can just actually right click there and say that you would like to edit the background area, and you just would like to, you know, change the top. From the top you just would like to move it back to the top level of all the others. So you just click here, offset, align it with this one, and hit enter, and then the software cuts the top.
The same old question comes up. Should you do this with actual tiles, or should you use a material instead?
Especially talking about the mosaic, it's an interesting thing, because with the mosaic you like this pattern, then you do that, but sometimes you don't want to generate thousands of tiles. It will slow down the performance. Those are literally generated 3D tiles. So if it's a surface feature, but when you are not interested in the tile pieces, or you don't want to especially use this specific tile distributor tool that we have here, you just go with the texture, and you just use it as a background area, and it will distribute the texture. So you have to decide what is more important for you. But if you would like to see it as a 3D texture, 3D wall tile, and you would like to make them listed in your listing, which we will talk about soon, then you will go with this mosaic tile distribution.
Now, staying at the topic of predefined patterns, I understand that we have different shapes we can apply in this scenario. Maybe we can load up the other project and show how we can do, let's say, hexagonal tiles or things like that. So, because again, that's something, again, automated. You don't have to manually draw these things, of course, but you can set up patterns, and the software is going to distribute them based on the pattern that you have chosen.
While I'm loading, would you load up a few images?
Yes, I just have to find the images with which we can just quickly show you.
First, I will show you how the command works, and then we will show you other examples. This is the
images, or
now first I would like to show you how that works, and then we show the examples. So what we talk about, that those are actually in the software, you will find them as built-in patterns. How that goes, you just go to a surface either in 2D or in 3D and use the tiling any of these. I will cover the whole surface, so I use the tiling full area, which is, by the way, is a good tool. It recognizes the room counter automatically. So I go, instead of the mosaic tiling, I use the built-in patterns. Those are a rich content here. You can see many different type of modern or classic tiles that you can distribute all around. So I believe I will go with the three parts hexagon. This is what we have set up previously. So I don't have to think too much. I just go and try to find something like a very bright beige and a kind of bluish or grayish. So this is what I do. I just go to I use the stone pattern, marble, and let's just go with a very, very bright one, and then add another one which is a kind of a beige color, and go to, again, stone, marble, and let's just go perhaps this one.
That would be good.
Yeah. And then let's just go with something, instead of steel, I would like to use stone, marble, and perhaps this gray. It's maybe too dark, but it's kind of matching with the door color. So let's just go with this one. So I have this. I can set up the size. This will actually change the whole pattern size. Yes. I can squish it or change it anyhow else. And then when I click update, based on this, the shape will update itself. So the size, just as you pointed out, I have 300 by 300. So I don't want to make too small. See, this is how it squishes. I don't want to make too large, but something in between. So I just hit OK, and then I start the distribution. And because I started in 3D, I can find a point in the 3D, and let's just start the distribution from here. Set up an angle, and then start the distribution. So now, because I have a large area with quite a lot of curves and contour changes, the software starts distributing, cuts the styles, distributes themselves, and then I will see the result appearing like that.
Yes. And let's see a few examples of other patterns that we have. So let's just move this to the other screen.
So a few examples from another point of view of the same room. Again, this is a combination of two or three different patterns or colors or even textures that we used here.
Oh, that's the one
same,
that we used.
Yeah, with the different pattern. Yeah, so those are all built in the software, and you can just change the size, change the material that you would like to use, and also on the wall surfaces you can use the same.
Yes, of course you can use this on vertical.
Talking about the wall surface, I would like to show you one another thing, which is, I believe, an interesting thing. And that is, let's just make this welcome wall to
maybe before that we have to undo what we did with the floor, because the site will be a bit too much.
Yeah. Okay. So now this will be a plain plain gray area where we arrive, but we would like to make a feature wall, turn this into a feature wall, perhaps with 3D wall tiles. I mean, we talked about 3D wall tiles. We used 3D wall tiles, but I mean that ARCHLine actually allows you to use something like this. What we have here. These are having these triangular shapes sticking out of the surface. So you can actually use an object to decorate a surface. So let's see how that goes. First things first.
How do we get these things from?
The object.
So obviously there are objects within ARCHLine, but we always encourage the customers and clients of ours to find these elements.
Simply because of the fact that the world is changing so fast, you will be able to find these new things fabricated by the manufacturers easily online. So
I think wall panel would be
wall panel. Perhaps I just use 3D wall panel as a search term. Wall panel. Yep. And see, you have plenty of those. The ones that are lying on the floor are by default good for the software, so I will download this one now. If you download something that is actually vertical, you need to first tilt it, and then you will be able to use it as I do now. So I just click OK, download. Okay, SketchUp. Yeah, I already did it, so I override that.
Where would you place them?
I just placed them outside the building. I just would like to break them apart. And because I only need one single tile. This object actually features one tile and the kind of a sample, and I would like to get rid of the sample, and I just would like to use one single tile. But first I need to place it. This is what happens now. I have this object. Let's just place it here somewhere outside. So first I need to break it apart. To be able to do that, I select it and I go to the Edit, Modify, Ungroup, and Ungroup. So it breaks it apart. I hit Escape, and then let's just perhaps I failed to.
I think maybe it was good two times. So
yeah. Okay. So
need to
modify.
explode it again.
Ungroup, and then Enter. So that now it is broken. I forgot to hit Enter. So I erase those. I don't need the rest. I only need one single
holding
piece.
The control now, and he's selecting multiple elements.
Yeah. So I have removed all of those, and then this one goes one single piece. I will save as a new object to be able to use it. So interior and single object and new object. So to save it, I just hit Enter, and then I name it. Let's just name it Webinar 3D Wall Panel. Yeah, that's nice. I save it into my library, and let's just create something for wall panels, my own wall panels. All go there. Let's just say OK. And then from that point on, I don't need this one, and I don't need the original object. Okay, it's already in my library. So I go back in, and I use it on this surface, like here, over there.
How do you do that?
To do that, I just use all the same tools. I right-click on the surface, go to the tiling, select tiling on wall side, only on this wall at this time. And then instead of using all of these that we used before, I will just go and find the select object. Now this has the pattern. This is actually not the one that I have created now. I already saved it into another place. It's my own library, and remember I created wall panels, and this is what I have downloaded now with the same name. So I can change the size. I don't want to do that now. Okay. And then I'm done. I don't need anything else. If I want to create remove the tile, change the thickness and everything else, I can, but I don't want to. I only want to use the original layout, which is a kind of a horizontal layout, and then I use OK, and then I distribute it from the bottom like that. And then the software creates a nice tiling, and it is actually cut all around. So the software makes sure that all the tiles, even if it's an object, it is cut with the contour of the surface or the background area that you have decorated.
Perfect. So it sort of optimizes the distribution.
Yes, yes.
Now let's talk about external coverings and tilings, because let's say you want to create a pavement or a ramp which has some kind of covering on them. How is that going to be different from what we have done so far?
Many ways, it's actually similar to the internal surface decorations. There is no big difference, only the layout and the size of the tiles that you usually use, and of course the patterns, the material that you use. So to be able to prove that, let me start with the plinth first. So remember, we created a plinth decoration
as
style,
a wall style,
as a wall style. So I would like to use it here. And remember, I used this placing tiling style, and I created something called the plinth style, which was the webinar wall styling dark gray plinth. This one, remember, I just created that. So I just click here, and the software uses it here. So whatever I decorate inside or outside, I can use this as a surface decoration.
You could do that with tiles. You can do that with
Yes,
materials. What about that ramp? What if we want to cover that?
If I would like to cover that, I only need to right-click on this surface and find the tiling full area tool, for example. And the same thing I could do in the 2D as well, just as I did previously in the case of the kitchen. So I just go and find, for example, let's just go with the tiling pattern. This is all an interesting thing. You can also create tiling patterns in ARCHLine, not just use the ready-made ones. I will just simply go with with one that I already have here. Let's just go with this one. I think it's quite naturalistic, so I will go with this one for the exterior. I don't want to change the size. I don't want to change all the settings, but I could do if I wanted. And then I hit OK, and then I just distribute it the same exact way as I did earlier. So I just align it, set up the distribution starter point, and then I distribute it here. So wherever I distribute it, even here, over there, or also here in the pavement, which is actually all around, it's the same thing, it's a slab, I can cover it easily.
Can you make a curved pattern? Let's say over there.
Yeah, we actually have here, I prepared this a little bit. The only preparation that I did, you can see this little thin line over here. I already covered this pavement here with one and another thin background area. So I already have two background areas here. Let me reveal that. I just go downstairs to the to this floor where I have these layouts. And let's just first go with the one that we already know. So I cover this whole area with the same pattern. So I just right click here, use the continue tiling, and use add tiles here, and I just use the same thing. I don't change anything, I just use the same thing. So I go with OK, and then I start distribution. So that's the same thing, but only until this very thin area.
What about that area? What happens there?
Because that area I just would like to distribute angular. So this is what I have here. So let's just go here and use add tiles again. In this case here, into this area, but I don't use this one. I just go with the simple rectangular one. And let's just change it to 50 by 50 if I recall. That's the thickness of this thin area that I have here, 50 by 50. Let's just change the color of the material itself into something else. It's just as a darker tone. Stone again. Let's just go with marble. Just keep it simple, and let's go with for example this one. Okay,
should be good.
And then, well, obviously it changes the size because this is the default size of this material, so I need to change it back to 50 and 50. Yeah, and nothing else. The only thing that I need to make sure that I enable this path finding option. This is the trick. So when I click here, I click OK. And then I select this area. This is what I would like to follow. And then I click again on the side so I can make sure that I start the distribution from wherever I want. I just would like to start distribution from here, here, or here. I just click once, and now the software starts distributing, and it is trying to follow the path that it recognizes and tries to align all the tiles angular nice like this. And then you can see how it follows this path actually, and this will have a nice look in the outside as well on the street like this one. So you can use this for thin areas, thin paths that you can follow with one row of tiles that you would like to distribute if it's rectangular or square shaped.
Yeah, but so much about this design, and let's talk about numbers. How do we get lists and takeoffs from this model?
Yes, for that, let me just jump back to the to the one that we use for the bathroom, because it has quite a lot of distributed tiles. So we will see how that looks like. Let's just go with the final version. We actually have a final version of this one. So it's in the bathroom and this one. This actually is fully covered with all the surfaces, all the mosaic tiles, and all the styles are the same applied on the surfaces. So we'll see something similar that we have designed before.
In the beginning, you mentioned that one tremendous advantage of using tiles as opposed to just plain repeated materials is that you can get a quantity takeoff out of this. So you're not going to work with flat images. Instead, you are going to work with three-dimensional bodies, which you can collect into an Excel list. So that's what we want to see now.
That's right. So that's the final step we would like to introduce. It's in the documentation, quantity takeoff, and in the Excel list. In the Excel list, there is one dedicated tool for that, which is the tiling. And the tiling allows you to collect all sorts of information. Even the roof tiling it can calculate. We don't have that. So I just go with the default settings and I click OK. And then I will just override the previous one that I have created here. So I just click on Save. And then the software creates the DXL file and opens it automatically if you have Excel installed on your computer. So what you see is the summary first. All the tiles that are used in this project are summarized with all their specific name, size, and the information whether how many tiles that were uncut in that specific layout that you have created and how many tiles are cut half or above half. And then you can go and find the areas. If you just painted areas, those are in the areas information, and in the tile details you have them all tiled and all listed piece by piece, and you can make all the calculations either on the first page or on the detailed page on the tile details.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this very detailed explanation on the tile tool set of ARCHLine. We hope that we covered the most important aspects of it. Obviously, this is a huge topic, but as you usually say, tiling is a separate tool set in itself. Could be a separate tool set in itself because it does so many things, but this is the outcome that we are going at. Now, what we are going to talk about next time is all about suspended ceilings. So tiles are going to come back into the picture, but this time we talk about roof tiles, or ceiling tiles.
Ceiling tiles, yeah.
And we talk about how we add lighting into the ceiling and how we make a multi-layered ceiling.
Yes, and we will also talk about not just the tiled ceilings, like what we have here the pattern tiled ceilings, but we will also discuss the kind of monolithic, the plain ones, when you have the surfaces. But you just would like to make some level difference in the design and how to do that, and how to handle it in one single piece, and how to nest light inside that plane surface.
So again, thank you very much for your attention, and we see you next Wednesday where we talk about suspended ceilings and everything regarding them. Thank you very much for your attention.
If you like the content, like us and follow us.
And subscribe to the channel so you'll never miss similar videos. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.